I think this episode was the first episode of this season that didn't make me completely angry. So it starts off with Jane telling Zoe and Elba about her plan to go to Montana with Michael, and they think it's a great plan because does Jane have any bad plans? But then because she is Jane, she second guesses her plans to go to Montana, but not to worry, she ends up going with Michael with the help of her father's bedazzled Western wear. And the episode is pretty cute because they introduce each character like as if it were a like silly Western telenovela, so it's really cute. So Michael picks her up for this trip, and it really surprised me because they end up on a plane, and I was just like, so not expecting that. I guess because my husband and I like drive everywhere usually. We road trip. So when they got on a plane, I was like, that just looked weird to me. I don't know. But it ended up being quite a long trip, a little bit disastrous, and they end up bickering a lot. And then once they get to Montana, Jane is pretty pissy because she realizes that she's off the grid, and Michael lets her know that there's not going to be like any cell service. So she kind of freaks out that she's not going to be able to get a hold of Mateo. He sorts that out for her though. So that's going to be okay, don't worry. But you should know that she doesn't have good cell service. So Jane wakes up the next morning and is like taken aback by how beautiful, the scenery is. And she starts out fresh. She and Michael run into his boss, and we find out that Michael, prior to going back to Miami, was working as a ranch hand for this man. So he's got to go back to work. Jane offers to help him do his chores. And she seems to really be enjoying herself. There's a lot of like playful scenes and whatnot. But can I just say I don't appreciate Michael's accent anymore? I mean, I never did really. I was tolerating it, but it's absurd now because it doesn't feel like, oh, he got used to speaking with this Montana accent and is now trying to slip into Michael Cordero accent. No, it just seems all over the place. It just seems like it's slightly there and then it's not. So, as they're spending time together, Michael says that he really did miss being in Montana and he likes his life in Montana. And you kind of start to think like, well, okay, how would this even work then? Like Jane has a child with a man in Miami. How would this even work? So she starts fantasizing, right, about breaking it to Raphael and asking him to like move with Mateo, and then she fantasizes about having a long distance relationship with Michael, and she's just like, and all of it seems to really be leaning towards her wanting to be with Michael and trying to figure out how she's going to be with Michael. And then like when Jane's away, Michael's boss lets him know like, hey, you got 48 hours to decide if you're staying or if you're going with her because I see trouble's gonna stir up over here. I don't know how terribly important this is, but I thought it was gonna actually be more important than it ended up being. But I have to say, okay, so this episode, I feel like normally I don't have the option to go back and rewatch the episode, but I also have to usually wait quite a while before I can do the video. So I like make like notes of like major plot points and like just different thoughts that go through my head and stuff like that. I have to say, for this episode, as much as I enjoyed it, I had like three things jotted down until like the last 15 minutes of the episode, and then like, bam. But so there's this scene where we find out that like Michael doesn't get along with like the neighboring ranch owner Charlie, and Charlie turns out to be a woman played by Haley Lou Richardson, which I believe is real life Michael's fiance. So that was cute, but she's so adorable. But she plays Charlie, and she calls like Michael a thief, and you're like, ooh, what's that about, right? And it turns out that his dog ate her chickens, and so like they come to an agreement finally that like Michael can like go on to her land or accidentally go onto her land without being shot, as long as he returns her chickens. So part of this Charlie chick storyline is that she helps Jane lasso a bull that gets loose that Michael needs to catch or he'll lose his job. In between all of this, another ranch worker lets it slip to Jane that Michael was given 48 hours to make a decision on whether or not he wants to stay in Montana. And it's funny because during this episode, Jane goes to Spiral a few times to Zoe, but there's like no cell signal, so she doesn't get to do that. Anyway, she and Michael talk, and he says he doesn't know if he can see himself in Miami because he really loves Montana. After the whole bull incident, they have to camp out because it'll be like too dark too soon to go back to Michael's cabin. So they actually share a kiss while they're laying on the ground, and it's kind of like lackluster to me because I'm not Team Michael, sorry. And yeah, it's not like a big deal. They kiss and then they go to sleep, and then like cut to the next scene of them talking, I guess. And she and Michael talk again, and Michael decides that he loves Jane and he is totally willing to leave Montana and try things out in Miami and just see where it goes because he loves Jane so much. Then Zoe is able to actually text Jane and explains that she talked to Raphael and let him know that that Jane is in Montana, and he seemed to take it well. He's a little bit fragile, but seems okay. And then also he sold his first house, so that's very exciting. So that, sends Jane into another fantasy thing where she starts thinking about like everything's gonna be okay, right? Everybody's gonna get along. It's gonna be so cute and blah 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 blah. And so again, like all of her other fantasies in this episode, you think she's leaning towards being with Michael, but really she goes in to tell Michael that she loves Raphael. And she said the major change in Jane this whole time that Michael was away was that she fell in love with Raphael. And she realized this whole time, these like fantasies and things that these scenarios that she was like putting together herself, she was like, it wasn't me feeling guilty for Raphael, it was that I love Raphael. So she's like, yeah, sorry, I gotta go, girl. And Michael's like, yeah, I just want you to be happy because I'm perfect and I'm just like the sweetest guy on the planet. And so I'm gonna make it really hard for you to leave. No, it wasn't hard. She left. She hightailed it out of Montana and went straight to Raphael's door. And then he says, no thanks. And Raphael is immediately like, no, I'm sorry, you're too late and I can't trust you. And so and sent her packing, right? And so then she's back at home with Alba and Zoe on the porch, and I have to say I'm with Jane on this one. She's very calm and still very determined, and it's like, it ain't over till it's over. And I'm with you because it's only episode 7, so I knew, I'm like, no. Like, I was elated that she said she wanted to be with Raphael and that she loved him, and I was like, yeah, duh, obviously, get out of there. Probably fleas and ticks. But I was like, it's too soon in the season, right, for it to just be like happily ever after. There's got to be some more will they, won't they, okay? It ends with Jane deciding, like, nope, I'm going to win him back. And I cannot wait to see what happens next. I really, really like this episode. And I also have to say, I completely forgot when I was recording last week's episode that in the meantime, Jane in real life, Gina Rodriguez, got married on May 4th to Jane the Virgin extra, Jolo Cicero. So that's pretty cool. Congratulations on that. I'm pretty sure she watches this. Also, unfortunately, depending how you look at it, the CW decided, I just read an article, they decided not to pick up the Jane the Virgin spinoff, Jane the Novella, which I'm like, what? And when you read it, it's like, that's probably best. That's understandable because it's like the thing that you love about Jane the Virgin is like all the characters and all the relationships and all the craziness, and they're pretty much taking all of that out, making Gina Rodriguez a narrator, and then basing, I don't even know if it's a season or an episode, they're basing like each series on a book that Jane writes. And it's like, here's okay, you take Justin Baldoni out of it, and I'm like, why would I watch this? Okay, so kind of sucks, but I guess I can understand why they didn't pick it up because what would that really amount to? So, everybody's got other stuff going on though, right? It'll be okay. It'll be okay. I'm excited for next week.